Aloha, friends, and welcome to another update on the Kilauea volcano on the Big Island of Hawaii. I'm Geology Professor Shawn Willsey. Today is Friday, January 23rd, and I wanted to put an update together because there's a new update or bulletin from the USGS that goes into a lot more detail than what we typically see. So I wanted to share some of that information with you and give you my spin on it, and also go over some of the latest data. We're looking right now at the V3 camera. The south vent is on the left. The north vent is the spattering vent on the right. And so we are ramping up towards this next episode, episode 41, which is expected by the USGS to begin possibly as early as today or on Sunday, January 25th. So that's the window we're looking at currently for this next eruptive phase. But some of the new things that have been happening are these earthquakes we've been having near the summit, and some speculation and thoughts by people about what might be happening. Are we looking at a possible shift and change in what's going on at the summit of Kilauea? So again, thanks for joining me. A quick look here at the V1 camera. Again, looking at mainly the north vent. The south vent's kind of behind it there, so it's a little hard to see. But this is the view from the north side of the crater. So let's go ahead and get to that update from the USGS that I mentioned. So this came out yesterday, January 22nd in the evening, Hawaii time. And I'm going to read some of this to you, which sounds kind of boring, but I'll stop every now and then and provide a little bit of context and some of my own thoughts as well. But I think there's some important things in here. So first, summary here. So they do mention at the beginning, this statement reviews observations and summarizes what could be expected next. So they much more detailed than what we typically see, where they just report the data and provide a little bit of analysis. So the first paragraph mainly goes over what we know, kind of what's been going on over the past year with these 40 episodes. And I think starting with the second paragraph here is where we start to get a little bit more insights and hopefully some new nuggets of knowledge that you didn't have prior. So monitoring data from the Kilauea Summit region GPS network is used to generate models of pressurization over time in the two magma chambers below, the shallow Halemaumau magma chamber and a deeper magma chamber located beneath the South Caldera region. So they're not exactly stacked on top of each other. There's one that's slightly a little bit to the south, and then that kind of magma moves from that deeper zone a little bit to the north and feeds into the Halemaumau crater, and that's the main crater where we see those events we just saw on the webcam there. As the eruption has progressed, the modeled amount of pressurization reached in the Halemaumau magma chamber before each new lava fountaining episode has slowly increased. Modeled pressurization in the deeper South Caldera magma chamber has been slowly decreasing since this eruption began in late 2024. This process is offsetting the increased pressurization that occurred there beginning in October 2023 and continuing to the start of this eruption in December 24. Increased shallow pressurization may reflect increased magma supply to drive the higher effusion rate of the ongoing eruption, which is about double that of the long-term magma supply rate at Kilauea. So basically what I get from that mainly is that there's more magma going into that shallow chamber, into that shallow storage zone right beneath Halemaumau, and that's increased the pressurization in that shallow chamber, which is reflected with some of the GPS and other instruments. Continuing on with this statement, the magma plumbing system connecting the two eruptive vents in Halemaumau to the shallow magma chamber below has been remarkably stable over the past year with very little earthquake activity. Following the end of episode 40, on the evening of January 12th, short duration swarms of small earthquakes in the region 1.5 to 4 kilometers below Halemaumau have occurred intermittently, accompanied by abrupt and brief disruptions in the summit's inflationary tilt trend. I'll show you that here in a second on one of the tilt meter graphs. So things have been very stable for 40 episodes for a year, more than a year. Very little earthquake activity. The conduit or the plumbing system that connects the shallow magma body, the storage zone, to those two vents at the surface. Just not a lot of earthquake activity. The magma can pass through easily. There's no buildup of pressure. It's not breaking out on the side or anything like that. But after episode 40, of course, that's when we started seeing some of these different earthquakes, and that's where the anomaly has kind of begun. Continuing on, most of these recent earthquakes have been smaller than magnitude 1, and broadly distributed beneath Halemaumau and the South Caldera region of Kilauea Summit. suggesting that the stress changes generating the earthquakes are not highly localized. Rather, the swarms appear to be related to a broad change where pressure is accumulating within the summit region. By contrast, when a new eruptive fissure formed in the southwest wall of Halemaumau during episode 30 on August 6, 2025, earthquakes were tightly clustered along the path that magma followed to the surface. Additionally, changes in the patterns of summit region ground deformation indicate that magma intruded a new area, which was apparent in the new but short-lived eruptive vent. So quick summary there. When we see these broad swarms like we've seen after episode 40, we think that's related to just, pressure building up in the entire subsurface magma storage zone versus, magma breaking open and possibly forming a new fissure. If that was the case, like we saw with episode 30, we would see earthquakes tightly clustered around a small geographic area that would kind of pinpoint where the magma is moving as it's breaking rock, as it's moving up towards the surface. But we're not seeing that with this latest swarm. It's been more broad in terms of the distribution. And then finally here, the impact of the recent earthquake swarms on the next episode of lava fountaining, if any, is unknown at this time. But there have not been changes in ground deformation patterns to suggest that magma has intruded or is intruding into a new area. So that's an important thing to state. There is nothing to suggest or point to any notion that the magma is going to come anywhere else except near the summit where it has been for the past year, based on what we're seeing right now. And then they mentioned that January 23rd to 25th window for the next eruptive episode 41. So possible outcomes, they actually go into what this could mean looking forward, and it's similar to what we've talked about here. They don't say that these are ranked, but I sort of get the sense that they might be, and I think this is probably the way I would list these as well if I were to actually rank these three possibilities in terms of their most likelihood or probability. They do mention up here in this opening paragraph that they, based on what they've seen with prior eruptions at Kilauea, the 1983 Pu'uo'o eruption, the 1969 Mauna Ulu eruption, those had 44 and 12 eruptive episodes each. That after the lava fountaining episodes ended, they had fissures opening nearby that continued to erupt more lavas. So we might follow that pattern. We might not. It's anyone's guess. We might, episode 41 could send us in a different direction. We could go on for some time. And that's what they come here with the first probability. The eruption continues. So this is, I think, at least for now, based on all the data we're seeing now, this is probably the most likely outcome, at least in the short term and maybe in the long term. So magma could erupt from both the north and south vents for an unforeseeable time or number of episodes. The vents possibly could break down at some point, begin to erupt lava more continuously. And so that would kind of end the fountaining phase and that kind of geyser activity that we've seen with those vents, and maybe just be more continuous and effusive eruptions without the fountaining. Second possibility is that new vents form in the summit region or in the upper southwest rift zone. So it's possible that we could see magma opening up new vents as a result of this increased pressurization. If those two vents we have now aren't able to handle the increase in magma supply, or if they become plugged up or clogged, or something changes in the plumbing system, then we might see new vents up in that summit region or in that upper southwest rift zone. And then the last one they mentioned here is an east rift zone eruption or intrusion, but they do mention that this is the least likely scenario. So it is possible we might see that. But again, in order to see an east rift zone movement of magma, we would expect to see some earthquakes migrating from the summit region down towards the east rift zone. So I'll put a link to this. You can, of course, read this on your own. Sorry if that was a little tedious reading it, but I thought there were some really important points there. Really nice summary by the USGS. And as we sort of think about where Kilauea might go next, I thought that was worth spending some time looking at. Okay, let's look at the tilt real quick. So here's the past few months tilt. So here's, of course, episode 40. And you can see that we've pretty much matched or nearly matched the threshold that we needed for episode 40 currently. And so that's why we're expecting that eruption episode 41 to begin possibly today or over the next few days. But you can see that the downward trend in that threshold over time. There's the past 3 months. If we look at the past month, this is kind of what we see here. And then I'll kind of zoom in on just the past week, what we've been seeing. And so you can see that steady inflation, a few little dips here. But right about here on the 20th, you can see some more pronounced dips and small, short deflationary trends in that tilt meter data. And these are likely related to some of that earthquake activity that's been going on at the summit. So as those earthquakes occur due to magma overpressurization, that's magma maybe breaking rock, filling small cracks, moving into new spaces that it didn't occupy before. And each time we get one of those small events, that allows the summit region to depressurize just a little bit. But then as there's more magma coming up from the deeper zone, it starts to increase in pressure. A few earthquakes occur, causing a little bit of deflation as magma fills those cracks and maybe those new voids, and then it kind of goes on and on. So you can see an overall inflationary trend. That's kind of brought us to the cusp of the beginning of this next episode, but a little different pattern than what we've seen with some of the other ones there with these earthquakes going on. So let's mainly focus on the earthquake activity, and here is a nice map that the USGS put out that summarizes these earthquakes over the past, this is from January 12th to 22nd. There's about 300 earthquakes. You can see the location of those earthquakes. Again, the two vents are over here near the western wall of the Halima'uma'u crater, which sits within the greater Kilauea caldera. So you can see that these earthquakes have not been concentrated anywhere near the vents. They're mainly over here on the east side of the crater and even on the south flank or south summit region of the Kilauea caldera. So this is, and again, look how diffuse they are. We're not really seeing them concentrated in one path. They're not forming a line or any sort of geometric shape. They're just more broadly distributed throughout this region, suggesting that it's just highly pressurized. Rocks are breaking, magma's maybe filling in those cracks a little bit, but it's not forming one continuous crack or structure or headed off in some direction. So some interesting stuff there. The USGS view of the earthquakes near the summit region. Kind of zoom out a little bit. This is over the past month, although most of these have occurred within the last few weeks. You can kind of see that view there with the satellite view. And again, the two primary events are over in this region over here. And then this view here, which is nice because we can actually animate these and kind of actually see when these come in. So if we look at summit region there, all the little purple dots are earthquakes. We can actually show these occurring over time. We'll go ahead and start that. This goes from January 13th to today. You can see just a flurry of earthquakes right off the bat on the 13th. They kind of come in clusters. Sometimes there's a bunch there that just came in. There's a bunch there. You can see down here where the blue circle is. There we go. You can see all these little spikes here down near the bottom right corner, and that's these kind of flurries of earthquake activity caused by presumably this magma pressure. Go ahead and do that one more time just so you can see all these earthquakes coming in and sort of the pattern that we see here over the past few weeks. So pretty interesting stuff. Let's go ahead and look at to wrap this up, let's go ahead and look at the earthquakes over the past year. Make that a little bigger. So main thing I want to focus on was this here. So this is, each bar on this graph is total earthquake counts by week. Now this does take into account like basically the whole island, all of Hawaii. So it's also factoring in some of those deeper Pahala quakes down to the southwest. But nonetheless, you can see that if you look at for the tallest blue bar here, it's the one that occurred last week. It's the one that's associated with a lot of that seismic activity up near the summit. A little harder to tell on this graph here where you've just got just a sea of dots of different depths. So the color coding is by depth, and then the size of the circle is by magnitude. But you can see that 350 or so earthquakes last week is basically the highest earthquake count by week since over the past year. And then finally, to kind of wrap this up, I thought this was kind of fun. So I have a friend and colleague who worked at the Hawaii Volcano Observatory for a number of years, then moved on to the Alaska Volcano Observatory, but it was actually back in Hawaii last week, and and he saw that I'd been there recently, so he texted me and wondered if I was there, and we texted and caught up a little bit, caught up with each other back and forth. And then, he said, "Oh, I gotta go do a helicopter overflight of the volcano and then go collect some samples of the lava." And I was just so jealous of that. But these are some of his photos and a colleague's photos. So this is their overflight view of the two vents. You can see Mauna Loa there on the right in the background, the old Crater Rim Drive road, and then where it's kind of collapsed down into the pit. The overlook where a lot of people are watching the eruptions take place, kind of back over here by Keanakakoi crater, right in this area here. This is where the viewpoint is. Here's one of the pictures that he took of the other geologist, kind of looking out, taking pictures using some of the photogrammic equipment that they use there. I'm not sure that's him there, but that's someone, could be him, because it was, I think, just two of them. So that's possibly him getting samples of the lava there on the crater floor. And then one more photo there taken looking down at the two gassing vents there. So pretty interesting stuff, but very likely to see some action this coming weekend. So I will keep you posted when episode 41. I'll probably, a lot of times I think what I like to do is not capture the very beginning of the episode, but like let a few hours go by, kind of see how it goes, and then kind of come in maybe midway or kind of towards the end. But we can always scroll back and look at some of the webcam images. So hope you found this update helpful and informative, and I appreciate your support of the channel. Take care.